Alright, so I'm going to show how to replace the battery on this MacBook Pro model A1398. This is a 15-inch early 2013 model. So keep that in mind because the models are different. On some of these A1398 models, the speaker is easier to remove. This one, the speaker goes underneath the main board. So keep that in mind because if you have to replace the speaker, this one you can get out easier because you only need to take out this board, but if you need to take out this speaker, you have to take the whole logic board out, or the motherboard. Okay, but anyways, I forgot to mention, to remove this cover, all you need is a pentalobe screwdriver. I think it's a, what was it again, 1.2? Let me double check so that way you can make sure to get the right size. This is, yeah, pentalobe 1.2. It's a star-shaped screwdriver. Don't use some other random ones or you can damage it. But anyways, there's 4 across the top, 2 on the sides, and then 4 across the bottom. The back 2 are slightly smaller, so keep that in mind. The ones near the hinge are slightly smaller. Okay, once you remove all the screws, you just pull up on the cover like this, and it comes out. It's just held in with some magnets here. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and remove the battery. Of course, make sure your MacBook is completely turned off. And then what you do, let me see if I can zoom in to show you this. Yeah, make sure your MacBook is completely off. And then on the back here, on this connector, there's a slight lip of this plastic piece here. And this is what you need to pull up. So you can see I'm using my fingernail and I'm pulling on this. So that's what you want to do. So you do this on both sides. This is kind of difficult to show because I won't have a way to hold it up. If I pull the connector out, I might end up dropping the MacBook. So I'm going to try and do this with one hand, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. Let's see. So just like that. Okay, it did come out. So to remove this, you just use your fingernails and then you just pull and wiggle this part of the connector out. Okay, so it comes out just like that. So a lot of people complain about my fingernails, but you can't do this with 2 pry tools. So it's much easier with fingernails. Okay. All right. So if you have problems removing this, you can just wait a little while, grow out your fingernails like this, and then you can just grab it. Usually I use my 2 fingers like this and I kind of just wiggle and pull it up. Okay. So once you get the connector out, you want to, let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, you want to peel up this adhesive, what do you call this? Just the sticker thing. Alright, just peel the side up a little bit and you'll have to use a T5 screwdriver. There's a screw under here, so you want to remove that screw. Okay. And when you get the battery for this, also make sure you get the right battery. So for this battery, the bottom goes all the way across. So some models, they have a haptic feedback where when you click it, it has a vibration motor, and that will have this piece missing. So make sure you get the right one. This one, on certain models, if you have that vibration motor, you have to make sure that the battery doesn't have this extra part sticking out here or you won't be able to put the battery in. All right, so I took one of the screws out. Let's take out the other one on this side. Okay, so you just have to remove these 2 screws. They are small. Keep the screws in order. You don't want to get them all mixed up because they can be different size. Okay, so once you get that, you'll notice that this part can move around now. Let's see. This side seems stuck for some reason. It shouldn't be. Oh, there we go. It was just stuck with some adhesive or something. So make sure that you can pull this piece up like this. It should come up. All right, but don't yank on it because this can damage it. If you want to be safe, drain your battery completely to 0 if your battery's dying, because if you leave some charge in here and you're not careful, if you puncture the battery, you can actually cause a fire or you can melt stuff. I had one customer that they tried prying the battery out and then it like melted all the stuff on the side. So keep that in mind. You want to be very careful with that. Luckily, they already took the speakers out of theirs because they had the model where the speaker's easy to get out. This model, you can't do that. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you are doing this and you don't know what you're doing, then you want to make sure drain the battery completely, and that will keep you from causing a fire or melting your thing or burning your house down. All right, so for the speaker, I like to take out these 2 screws. You don't have to take the thing out completely if you have tools like the way I'm going to do it. You do need a thin and flexible tool. You can use like a small thin spatula. I've heard some people say they use floss or something, so I'm guessing they get floss around here and then they kind of cut the adhesive. I haven't tried that. It's kind of scary, so I don't know how you get the floss between like these spots. So I haven't tried that because my method works and that's what I'm going to use. So this speaker also has 2 screws, so we're going to remove those 2 as well. Okay, if you're wondering, the screws, this one up here are like these bigger, let's see if I can show this, these bigger screws like that. And then the ones down here are smaller. Again, you don't want to mix up the screws because if you put the wrong ones in the wrong holes, you can cause some damage. Alright. Okay, so that one's a smaller type, longer screw. Okay, so once you get that, as you can see, you can kind of pull the speakers up slightly like this. Alright. So what you want is a thin, long pry tool like this. So this is meant to be like a frosting spatula. So get something like that. Usually you want it to be very thin. This one is super thin. They use this actually as like a scooper for like pills or something. So the person that I bought this from, they were selling it as a mini frosting spatula. They had several different types. But if you can't find this, you can get the thicker ones that are for frosting. And then you basically have to use sandpaper or something to thin it out just by kind of sanding it down. But it will take a long time to get it this thin if you get a thick piece. Just keep that in mind. Alright, so to remove the battery, what I do is I have it on the desk and then the other end is in my lap. So it's up at an angle like this. And then I stick my thumb here to pull the battery, or not the battery, the speaker up, okay, like this. And then you can create a gap underneath the speaker. Once you got that gap, then you can stick the tool underneath like this, okay? So I'm gonna make sure my tool got bent a little on the tip. So if your tool is kind of bent curved, you don't want it to curve up like this, because if you try and slide the tool under, it will scrape underneath. What you do is you have the tool curved like this, so when you push it, what it does is it goes underneath and then it kind of pushes out the thing. Okay, so that little bend actually helps with removing the batteries. So you get the tool underneath the speaker and underneath the battery, and then you just push the tool in. You might have to kind of wiggle it. All right, depending how old the battery is, sometimes Apple changed the type of adhesive. It might be more difficult, but this is the easier way to do it. So I'm not going to really show much more for the disassembly of this computer. I have another video, I'm pretty sure, of how to do this. So if you want to watch that, just look for that model. It might be also a 2012 model, but just watch my A1398 MacBook disassembly videos and you'll find that. This is basically just going to be for the battery. Okay. So you don't need to go under where this plastic is, just where the solid pack is, okay? So once you get that out, then you can actually lift the battery pack here up, and then you want to start going underneath to the next one. Okay, just like this. And you want to be careful because this part has a metal bar here, so it's okay. You can actually kind of go diagonal to cut the adhesive out like this, okay? But when you start getting to the center battery packs, you want to be very careful because those, if you slide it in wrong, you can actually damage the cables and stuff underneath. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean in a bit. And I'll show you how what I do to be more careful so that I don't accidentally damage it. Okay, so just like that. So the part where the trackpad is under here, it's slightly raised, so when you slide the tool in, there's like, you won't have risk of accidentally damaging that, so don't worry about that. Okay, so here you can see I got this whole part of the pack up. If you can't figure out how to do it this way, you can try the floss way, but I don't know how. I mean, you basically get the floss slightly under. I guess it can help with these 2 smaller parts if you can manage it. Okay, so now that we got these 2 up, you have to kind of keep this one up with the tool and then slide the tool under here. So what I do is I use the tool and I keep it along the edge of this metal bar, so that way there's no way I accidentally like push it in diagonal like that. Okay, so if you have a longer tool, I have a longer one as well, but I like using the smaller one. Okay, so I have a much wider, longer spatula, but I haven't used it in a long time, so I don't know what I did with it. I'm sure it's on my messy desk somewhere. Okay, so again, I'm keeping the tool flat with this to try and keep it from rotating up towards the top and damaging the other stuff. Okay, sometimes it helps actually to even angle it downwards, so there's less chance that you risk damaging anything else. Okay, so just go like that. Cut the adhesive. Be careful because you can like scrape your hand on here, so just be careful with that. Okay, and then once you get that out, again, remember the center part where the trackpad is underneath the battery is slightly raised, so you have to have the tool slightly up to get it underneath the battery pack. Okay, so just slide the tool in and slowly move it down as you cut further and further down the battery pack. Okay. Alright, just like that. Again, you do have to raise it slightly or you're just going to hit the metal raised part. I'll show you what I mean when I get this out. You do kind of want to watch this video multiple times to get an idea of what's going on. You don't want to just blindly like do this and follow it without seeing and understanding what's going on. So if you're attempting this, you might, and you're not sure what's going on, maybe watch until I completely remove the battery so you can see what's underneath. That's always a good way to learn how things are assembled, is look at the parts and see how they fit together. Okay. Alright, so now that we got that, so I'm trying to rotate this upwards so that way I can get the tool underneath here. But you do, again, have to be careful. One thing I didn't mention is if your computer had power in it, you want to disconnect, after you disconnect the battery, you can press and hold the power button for about 15 seconds to drain any power. So if you accidentally touch something metal on here, you won't cause any damage to the computer. Okay, so that's a safety trick. So this tape is actually cutting pretty cleanly. Normally, it'll get a whole bunch of this foamy adhesive stuff all over my blade. But yeah, just keep going. Once you get that out, what you can do is you can try sliding the thing sideways like this, okay? And then go to the next side. So now that we got that, we're gonna cut this side out. Right, lift the speaker up. Go underneath and push this tool in. Okay. Alright, just like that. Might be difficult. You have to wiggle and pull it back out. Alright. With this, you actually don't want the adhesive to be really hot, because if the adhesive is hot while you're doing this, it'll be very gunky and it'll stick to everything. So you actually don't want this to be hot when you do this. Okay, so for some people that think adding heat might help, it actually won't. Okay, so now we're gonna go to the other battery pack. Sorry if you can't see what I'm doing. So here, when you push the tool in, you can hear it's hitting the raised part of the trackpad that I was talking about earlier. Okay. Cut this at a slight angle. Sometimes the little corner up here also gets stuck, so it might be difficult. You might have to go underneath and then slide it this way, so keep that in mind, okay? So now we got both these out. Now we just have to get this last part out. I don't know if I can show, how do I show this? It's hard to do it at this weird angle. Okay, I'll try. Alright, so just like this. Again, be very careful that you don't hit the tool past this battery pack. If you go out here, you can damage some components over there. I'll show you what I mean when I finish cutting this whole battery pack out. Okay. So I'm going to use this kind of as a knife, pushing it sideways down there while I'm kind of sliding it to slice through the foam. Okay. Just like that. There we go. That actually worked pretty well. So now that you cut out all the battery packs, you just have to lift them up. So lift this up, lift that up, get underneath this battery pack. All right, and just try and lift all the battery packs up, and then you can pull it outward this way, okay? Because there is some adhesive under these little tabs. Okay, so once you do that, we got the battery pack out just like that. Here you can see all the adhesive. Apple didn't want to make this easy. So, there we go. Alright, so this kind of foam, it's going to be a pain to remove. If you want, you can take your blade and kind of scrape it all out. Some of these, the adhesive is a little bit easier to peel off, but this one, it just tears up. So it looks like it's not going to be easy to remove all of this. So you basically have to just scrape all this stuff off. Yeah, if you don't scrape it off, I mean, technically you don't have to scrape it off. Because if you don't scrape it off, the only thing that will happen is the new battery pack won't stick so well. And if you don't mind, you don't have to have the battery pack stick super well, but you might want to stuff the computer with something just so it doesn't, so it doesn't rattle around inside if you shake your computer around. Some people, they shake their computer around a lot and then it's like rattling inside, and that could damage the battery. So yeah, I would put some foam or some paper, like tissue paper or something inside, just to keep it kind of pressed in place if you don't have the adhesive to do it. Another way is the batteries come on a plastic sheet to keep it in place so that the battery packs don't move around when you install it. You can like cut the tabs off and then just keep that in place as well. But yeah, so this is the boring part. You're probably going to want to fast forward unless you just want to hear me talk. But yeah, I'm just going to try and scrape all this stuff off. My phone, let's see if my phone on my camera phone will actually overheat. I put like a little water pouch inside. So I'm testing that out. If it works, then I'm going to actually post a video of that modification or non-destructive modification that I did with my phone. So on some models, the adhesive peels really well. Like if you peel a little bit, then you can actually peel the whole strip out. But as you can see, this one is just tearing. So to get this out, I just have to scrape it all, which sucks. I'm going to try with a razor blade and see if that makes it easier. Okay, so I got a razor blade here. I'm just going to lay it flat against the aluminum and then see if I can scrape this. No, that doesn't work. That probably explains why I never do it that way. So I just have to keep pushing this adhesive slowly, like this. Okay, maybe, no, I don't want to try with that with the, I think the razor blade is a harder metal, so it will actually scratch this thing all up. Not that it really matters since it's going to just have a battery installed on top of it. And if you don't want to go, well, that's probably more difficult, but if you don't want to go through this whole process of replacing the battery, you can just buy like the whole palm rest with the battery installed and swap out that whole thing. But if you do that, usually you won't get a new battery, so the battery will be probably old and used and it might not be as good. Alright. Okay, so as you can see, this is like a pretty big pain to get all this adhesive off. And this video is going to be pretty long just because of that, so if you're bored, I'm sorry. You can at least set YouTube to be like 2 times speed, but yeah, other than that, you can just fast forward if you don't really care to see or listen to what I'm saying. Alright, so just keep working at this junk, scraping away. You don't have to do it perfect as long as most of it's gone. The adhesive that they put is pretty strong, so yeah. So it doesn't really need to be perfect, but I try and scrape out as much as I can. It also leaves behind a residue, you can probably see that. So that kind of stuff, usually I just leave that residue. You can like wipe it out with rubbing alcohol, but it takes a long time and a lot of elbow grease, so Usually it doesn't need to secure the battery that hard down in place, so I don't scrape all of that or clean all of that stuff off, as long as it prevents the battery from shaking all over the place. Okay, so just keep scraping that up. And then the trackpad part, this metal piece, it usually will always get all scratched up because they use a softer metal on that. Which I'm surprised, because this panel is, I think, aluminum, and I think the other panel is probably steel. It's very flexible, so. Okay. Remove all this stuff. I don't know if anyone has a better tool for doing this kind of thing, but this is what I do. Alright, that's probably clean enough. Let's move to the other side. Sorry for this boring video. It's probably going to take me like at least 20 minutes, so you can probably skip 10 to 20 minutes of the video if you want to get to how to install the battery, but basically you just drop it in the way you took out the other one. Alright, so if you're leaving now, yeah, hopefully this video helped you. If it did, like and subscribe, because that'll help others find this video. It'll also help me. Thank you for watching, and if you're here to stay, then cool. Yeah, feel free to write some comments down below. Anything you recommend. Please don't recommend I chop my fingernails off, because it does make repairing these things a lot more difficult. If you have problems with my fingernails, I don't know, then maybe you need to ask yourself why it bothers you so much. Alright, so this out. Okay. Alright, so just keep scraping all this stuff off. So much of this gunk here. I wonder if my fingernails will actually get this stuff out better. Nope. Well, it does kind of work, but the metal, I can put a lot more pressure on it to keep it flat to scrape this off. So again, some models, they don't tear this easily, the foam. So you can, if you get a little bit of corner edge of it peeled up, you want to try and peel it off first, because that makes it a lot easier. This one, it just shreds up to bits, so it's impossible to remove this foam in like one long piece. So that's why I have to resort to scraping it off. And this is very labor intensive and time consuming. Okay. This is one of the reasons I hate Apple computers, and the newer ones only got worse, so yeah. Keep that in mind if you're buying an Apple, that if you're going to have to upgrade it or repair it or anything. The new stuff I don't think is even upgradable anymore. All the new MacBooks, the SSDs, the RAM, everything is soldered in place. They put all these weird security chips in there, so even the motherboards are harder to repair. You basically have to replace everything. So, kind of sucks. I think if you replace the board, that the fingerprint sensor stops working unless you bring everything over as a set. Okay. This is probably the most boring videos you guys are watching. So if you've stayed and watched this far, I don't know, tell me what your favorite animal is in the comments below. Tell me your favorite color. I don't know. Tell me something about yourself. Alright. Okay, we got that. I don't know if my phone is gonna record through this whole thing. If it does, I'll be surprised. Because right now I even have the flash on it. So usually while recording in 4K with the flash, it overheats. Even without the flash, it overheats actually if I record for like 30 minutes or so. But right now it's not that hot today, so I don't know how long I've been recording. What does that say? 26 minutes, oh, okay. I might be running out of time here. Probably shouldn't have looked at the clock. That will probably result in me running out of time. Okay. There we go. So we got all of those side ones out for the most part. There's lots of residue, but oh, again, this is the part that I was saying, if you have the tool this way and you slide it in, you can accidentally cut the trackpad cable. So be very careful. If you cut this trackpad cable, you can replace it. You have to pry up this gray part. Maybe I'll show that, but because when else will I get the chance to show a trackpad removal replacement video? Okay, so you peel up. I use the tool to lift this piece up. And then once I do that, try and keep it as flat as possible because you don't want to bend this thing too much or it's going to be hard to put it back. You want to try and keep it flat. See, it gets like slightly bent. Alright, so once you remove this pad, then you can take out the trackpad here. There's 6 screws and then you can take it out. I'm not going to take it out because it's kind of a little bit difficult to align it properly. So I'm going to leave it there, but basically you take these screws out and then you can pull this whole thing out. And this one, it has like the little flip tab thing to pull this off, but there is an adhesive holding this in place. So keep that in mind. There's adhesive under here too. But if you broke it, then whatever, just peel it out. So this one's working fine. I'm not gonna attempt to take it out and then risk damaging it. So I'm gonna leave that as is. Oh, it's pretty dusty underneath it, so I'm gonna clean that at least. Okay, so we'll clean that out because that will never be removed ever, probably. Okay, so, and then to line this up, you just make sure that the metal here is completely flush. If you have it slightly up, you can actually see the raised metal bits. Okay, alright, so now let's try and remove this stuff. Oh, this one. Oh, okay, it is coming out the same, but it's a pain. Maybe I don't know. I hate this foamy stuff. Whoever invented this is an a-hole. Well, not whoever invented this foam tape. I'm sure they wanted it as a security thing or something. But whoever decided to use this to hold the battery in place, I hate Apple. I mean, they give me a job by giving me work to do, so in that sense, okay, but I hate the way they design this stuff so that it's so difficult to remove. Okay, let's see if I can cut that. Nope. Let's try the tool sideways. Nope. I guess I have to just scrape it out this way. Let me just do like long scrapes and see. I hate this kind of adhesive. Scraping the adhesive. adhesive and then leaving residue all over. Okay, guess this kind of works. These model MacBooks are getting old, so I might have to be replacing a lot more of these soon, but they suck. Okay, getting that. Turn it this way so it's a bit easier for me. See how much of a pain this is? Surprised my phone's still recording. So I guess that water pack really did help. Okay. We're almost there, only 2 left to go. And also when you do this, when you replace the battery, you want to make sure to test it before you put down the adhesive, because if you replace the battery and the replacement has problems, then that's going to really suck. You're going to have to peel out the new one. The new one, the adhesive is not as bad as what Apple does here, so it's not as bad, but it's still kind of a pain and a hassle, so keep that in mind. Okay, last one. If you stayed through this whole scraping process, I'm very surprised. Most people probably just fast forwarded through this whole thing. Okay. I wish I could fast forward through this. Okay. Alright, if you stayed through this whole thing, just so I know, type a random number and then type the number 8. I'll be surprised to see if anyone actually stayed through this whole thing. So any single digit number and then an 8 at the end. I'm kind of curious if anyone actually stayed. Alright. Almost done. Okay. Now we almost got all last bits. Come on, here we go. Okay, so got this battery. I ordered it on Amazon. Okay. And these batteries actually come with the tools most of the time. So this one actually matches the same. So as you can see, it has this plastic thing, and the blue pads are to release the adhesive. So it makes it a bit easier to peel the adhesive away because the adhesive is super strong. So keep that in mind. But if you want to, you can, if you couldn't get all the adhesive off or it's too much work, you can actually leave this piece on and just cut this thick plastic tab off, and that will allow you to drop the battery in place and keep it from sliding around. Okay, so this, you have to make sure it goes underneath these two metal tabs that stick out, and then you can drop it in place. But I'm gonna test it first, so let me plug the battery in. Sorry, I'm probably putting my head in the way. But usually when they also send the battery, this cable is straight out, so you want to kind of bend it and then kind of curve it up, and then bend this one out so it's kind of out like that, and then this curves, and then you can compress the thing in. Okay, alright, so let's put this in like this, line it up and press it down. Okay, so I'm leaving this out for now because I'm gonna make sure it turns on okay. Sometimes the battery comes without a charge, so you might have to plug it in and charge it some first. So let's see what happens. It's turning on. Their left speaker is actually bad, so if you're wondering why it made that rumbling, I'm holding the option key just to see it, the hard drive thing. So it is working, so I'm gonna turn this off now. You might also want to boot it completely. I don't know the password, so, but usually to be safe, you want to boot it into your account, and then that way when you check the battery, you want to make sure it doesn't have that consider replacing your battery icon. Alright, so let's take this battery back out. Okay, now that we know it's working. This thing can be kind of tight sometimes, so be careful when you lift it up. I kind of pull up with my fingernails, and my other part of my finger pushes down on the board so that it's not just ripping the board out. Okay, and sometimes you want to go all the way around just like that and lift it out. Okay, so you want to leave this film on top because this film keeps the battery packs together when you peel off this bottom piece, so keep that in mind. Alright, so I'll have it like that. I usually lay it on my arm like this, and then I will peel this off just like this. Okay, alright, so just peel it off like that. So the adhesive, again, under here is super strong, so just be very careful. If you get it stuck on something, it's going to be very difficult to lift it back up. So you want to keep the battery pack flat if you can. Make sure that these pieces don't separate because it's going to be difficult. And then slot the piece underneath these metal extended parts. Once you get it slotted underneath, then you can lay the battery down. Okay, so just lay it down and make sure it's going in. There we go. Okay, so there we go. Make sure it's going behind the speakers and behind these metal parts. Alright, then you gotta line up these to put the screws back in. So just push it a little bit. Take your T5 screwdriver again. Put the screw in. Okay, just like that. And this side as well. Make sure you can move this piece around and then put the screw in. Alright, tighten it down. Don't tighten too tight, just enough so that it makes it really hard to turn. Right? Just like that. And then you can actually take the adhesive from the old battery. So let me plug this in first. Again, you do want to bend this cabling because it's usually too long. Okay, let me show this. So we got the battery connector here. Then you want to make sure the pins line up. Let me see if I can show this. I don't know if I can, but here we go. So you make sure the pins line up properly. Let's zoom in a little more. Okay, make sure. You have to be very sure that the pins are lining up. You don't want to plug it in all crooked and then damage something. Oops, sorry, it's going off camera. It's very hard to keep this in view, but I will do what I can. Alright, I like to try and get one side in first, and then make sure to flatten it out, and then push both at the same time, just like that. There we go. So now we got the connector, now we got that connector in place. And then once you got all of that, you can peel off the plastic. Okay, zooming way too far out. Okay, now you can peel off this plastic piece. Just grab the tab and make sure that the battery packs stay down. Just like that. Okay, and then if you want, you can throw this away or put it on your old battery. I don't think most people won't do anything with the old battery, they'll just toss it. You do want to bring it to like an e-waste or something that recycles batteries, because if you throw these in the trash, it can leak into like your water source and it can make the water toxic. So at least that's what people say. So yeah, if there's an e-waste place, try and bring it to one. I think Best Buy, I don't know, I think Best Buy will take them. So if you have a Best Buy like computer store, yeah, if not, ask around and see where you can take it. Alright, now let's put these screws back in for the speakers. Make sure the speaker's lined up properly. Alright, and that's pretty much all there is to this. Again, I'm going to peel off the sticker for the battery, and then from the old battery, and then put it on there so it lines up. But that's how you do it. Let's put back all these screws. Okay, oh, the speaker's a little bit cracked. That's probably why it makes a weird noise. Okay, so again, we got the old battery pack here. You can peel off this sticker completely and then transfer it over. So here you can see they also have like a serial number here. They try to mimic it on here, but it's different. Okay, so now we got this, and we will just line up the top part here. I don't know if you need a zoomed in view of this, but okay. And just line that up. And then line up the part down here. Oops. There we go. And just try and keep it as nice and aligned as possible. Press it down. There we go. And now we just put the metal cover back on and we're good to go. So, there we go. Oh, if you want to take the SSD or the wireless card out, I have lots of videos showing that again, but there's just one screw holding the SSD out. This one uses a special SSD, so keep that in mind. Alright, so you got that, covers on. Just put back all these star-shaped screws. Again, the two up here near the hinge are shorter than the rest, so keep that in mind. Hopefully this video helped you. If it did, please like and subscribe because that'll help others find this video. It'll also help me. Thank you for watching. If you want, you can stay till I finish putting back all the screws, but that's all there is to this. Alright, so I'm just going to finish putting back the screws, power it on one more time, and we're good to go. Alright. Okay, so my customer decided that changing the speaker on this wouldn't be worth it, so I'm not changing out the speaker because that's a lot of money, taking the whole logic board out just to change out the one speaker. We did move the sound to the one speaker that doesn't have the crackling sound, but yeah, if you want to replace the speakers, taking out the logic board is kind of risky. I mean, I know what I'm doing, so it's not much risk, but if you're going to try and do it yourself, keep that in mind. You're going to have to take the whole logic board out. I have a video of that. Make sure to watch it multiple times before attempting it. I had another customer also attempt it, and then they watched the wrong video at first, so they thought it would be easy to remove the speakers because they watched the one where the speakers aren't underneath the logic board, and they ended up frying their logic board. So just be very careful. You don't want to turn your MacBook into a brick because you wanted the sound to be better. Yeah, because these days, if you have to replace the logic board and stuff, the parts are super expensive, so just be careful with that. Alright, thanks again for watching. Hopefully this video helped you. Again, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I am going to turn this on one more time. Alright, I'm holding up the option key, so there we go. And show me the hard drive. There we go. Alright, so we're good to go. Again, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Looks like my overheat pad worked, so yeah, bye.